So, hello everyone. Welcome to today's conservation optimism workshop. This is actually our last workshop for the year. We have had really interesting and informative workshop and webinar topics throughout the year. And for this last workshop, we have a very interesting workshop topic on how to use social media effectively, which is one of the most important tools in this today's world. If this is your first time that you are joining us and you have not heard of conservation optimism before, we are a global movement for people and nature. Our aim is to empower everyone to act for nature. We highlight stories of optimism to inspire change in this world, which is filled with gloom and doom. So conservation optimism, we organize different workshops and webinars. We share stories of hope, and we have different resources for empowerment that we share throughout our social media platforms and our website. We also have a network of different conservation organizations called CO Now, Conservation Optimism Now. If you are, I believe most of the participants of this workshop are associated with the CO Now. If you are not associated with it and you would like to learn more about it, then we will share link there is a small form which you can fill and let us know your interest to join the network. Conservation Optimism Now is a great platform to share different work that you are doing and share the stories of hope within the network. So coming towards today's workshop, I am super thrilled, I should say, to welcome Maria Perez. She is a communications and marketing coordinator at Mar Alliance. Maria is going to talk about social media and its effective and how to make it effective, as I said before. Just before I hand over this platform to Maria, I would like to say something about question and answer. So you can keep your questions until the workshop ends, or you can post it in our chat box while the workshop is ongoing, and we will pick them one by one, and we will try to respond as much as we can. Also, if you want to ask question by raising your hand, then you can do that after the end of workshop. So without further delay, I would like to hand over this platform to Maria. Maria, so the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you guys for organizing this and allowing me to host the last workshop of the year. I'm going to share my screen now. Do you please let me know if everyone can see my screen correctly? Yes? Great. So, as Rishu was mentioning, I am going to do this workshop on how to use your social media channels wisely. I think this is one of the biggest challenges we have in the charity sector and in the conservation sector, at least. Before I start with the training, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Mireia Perez, and I'm the Communications and Marketing Coordinator at Mar Alliance. At Mar Alliance, we explore, enable, and inspire conservation action for threatened marine megafauna. We work with sharks, rays, sea turtles, and big finfish. We also work to protect their critical habits, and one of, I think, that is one of our highest and more special unique points is that we work with the support of the local communities. Before joining Mar Alliance, I've worked with several organizations such as the UNEP WCMC, the Charles Darwin Foundation in the Galapagos Islands, BirdLife International, and Submon here in Barcelona. So first of all, before we start talking about digital, I would like us to give a thought to what storytelling means to us as human beings. And I think that the evolution of storytelling is linked to both the creation of our culture, offline and online. So at the beginning of times, we would sit around a fire or sit with our community and just share information, listen to someone that we thought that had something important to say, or maybe just gossip. But we can't deny that storytelling is very important in our generation of the language, the culture, and our identity, both as individuals and as a society. So now with digital, what happens is that our communities are bigger and bigger, and we can reach like-minded people in different parts of the world, which before it was impossible. Here, I wanted to share the report of We're Social and Hotsuite of 2022. These are the world's most used social media platforms. I wanted to highlight that there's social media platforms such as Twitter and LinkedIn that they're very mindful of their users' data. So for example, you will see that Twitter ranks in a very low position and that LinkedIn is not even in the chart. And I would assume that this is because they don't share their users' data. We can see that Facebook is still one of the most used platforms, followed by YouTube. Then they also add chats to this rating because in some parts of the world, WhatsApp is used commercially, for example, for commercial purposes. So we can see TikTok is in a high position here. And then we have Snapchat and, to be honest, a whole bunch of like chats. I have no idea what they are. And if someone has it, then we can discuss it later. But I would say that I would like to focus on the main accounts that we use regularly. So a little bit I would like to think about the user trends. It is said that we use social media 2.5 hours per day. And if we take into account that we work 7 hours per day and we ideally sleep 6 hours per day, 2.5 hours per day being in the digital world is a lot of time. I would like us to do a small exercise, and each of you can write in the chat how many social media accounts you have. We can give like, yes, 2 minutes. For example, I can start. I have Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, WhatsApp, YouTube. So I have 6. So 6, 5, personal business, 7. Okay. So I can see that the most common number in this group would be 6. So basically, that's a lot of community management personally. And that's why I think that we should be very mindful in terms of what we want to use to broadcast our projects and how much time do we have and what resources we have available. So it is said that we have in between 6 and 8 accounts per person, usually WhatsApp, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube channel. Even if you don't use it, it's something that it's linked. Facebook, Pinterest, even if you're just looking at stuff and not posting actively. And then now we have new accounts like BeReal or TikTok that are trending and many young audiences use them a lot. So sometimes it's interesting because I used to think I had like 3 social media accounts. And then if you sit down and think about how much personal community management you need to do, it's usually a bit surprising. So in terms of work and our organizations or our projects, before posting or even being live in social media, I think that we should ask ourselves these 5 questions that are, why am I posting this on social media? Is it like really important, or should I be reaching a podcast or a radio or a blog? Why are we on social media? Because social media requires a lot of time and a lot of resources. Also, once we decide social media is the channel through which we want to communicate, we are going to think about who is our intended audience. The general public is not a good answer. There's no general public. We need to be very specific of who we want to target and also what we want to communicate. Because when we know who we want to target and what we want to communicate, we know where to find them. You won't find, for example, baby boomers on TikTok. So then if your message and your call to action is addressed to baby boomers, maybe you should use Twitter or LinkedIn. But if you want to do a brand awareness campaign and build some filters and stickers and just like build brand awareness, maybe TikTok or Instagram are good platforms for you because you want younger users that are more digital savvy. So once you know who's your intended audience, what you want to communicate and where to find them, you know how to craft your message and how to make it appealing for them. Desired audience. So how can I know who's my desired audience? Usually in marketing, there is an exercise that's called the buyer persona. And at the beginning of the marketing times, you would just look at personal info like age, demographics, hobbies, interests, etc. Now we look we have a more holistic view of the person we want to reach. So we want to know the professional goals. We want to know the challenges and the pain points they are facing. And we want to know how we can help, how our message or our information is interesting for them. So besides having a profile of the personal information, the goals this person has, the challenges they face, and how we can provide value to their lives, we want to know where to find them. I'm always talking in terms of digital and the digital ecosystem. We want to know how they interact with similar accounts. We want to know how they're interacting with us, what's interesting for them, what posts are not interesting and not receiving enough engagement. And we want to analyze overall their digital behavior. Because once we know their digital behavior, we will know if they're interested in inspirational videos or DIYs or activities or what type of music they like, so we can include that in our reels and our videos. So marketing, we used to have a conversation of offline marketing and online marketing. And to be honest, I think that now marketing encompasses online and offline. So offline behaviors also affect online behaviors. And this is a good exercise you can do when you want to know how to reach a very specific and tailored audience. So for example, this is an example. And I think that in the conservation sector, this is an interesting example because we want to reach children, okay? So we want to reach kids, but kids, they're not in, their digital behaviors are very controlled by their tutors, their parents, their teachers, etc. So you can reach kids directly, and we need to find other ways of reaching them. So even if your desired audience are children, we need to look for the primary audiences that will make the messages arrive to them. And this would be teachers, educators, the parents, collaborators of your projects, maybe new partners that are related to education, or any type of professionals that are related to education, such as volunteers, researchers, etc. So how do we find them and how we catch their attention? we need to generate content that is interesting for the primary audiences, so they act as the front door and we can reach children. One example of this that I really liked when I was working at BirdLife International, we had the Spring Alive program. The Spring Alive program was meant to teach kids about birds and about migration. But obviously, we needed to reach schools. And how we did this? We generate materials that are useful for teachers and educators, so they use them in their classes, and then we reach our targeted audiences that are kids. So we did game boards, table games. We had infographics, how to be a great bird watcher, or the amazing birds of migration, that are useful information. At the end of the day, educators, parents, teachers, they want to find interesting ways to reach their audiences. So we used a Facebook account, which is usually what most teachers use. We knew they weren't at least the teachers we wanted to reach were the demographic was in Facebook, and we shared a lot of games, infographics, information, and links, so they could download them from the website, and we could reach kids. So here you can see the 10 most shared live events on Instagram and TikTok. They're quite similar. So we have like important live events such as marriage, birthday, baby showers, or graduations, engagements, etc. I think it's a creative. I think it's very creative to extrapolate this to our sector, and I love this example. I don't know if you know it. This is the Global Wildlife Conservation Match.com and the Bolivian Amphibian Initiative in 2018. They they found this lonely Bolivian frog. They couldn't find the female of the species. It was going to go extinct. So what they did, this was a Valentine's Day campaign. They created a Match.com profile for the frog. They started announcing it on social media. And what Match would do, they would match the donations from the 9th of February until Valentine's Day, because they had to raise $15,000 before Valentine to do the 10 expeditions to find Romeo's Juliet. This was a successful story. They finally found the female frog, and then it was kind of a mediatic conservation. It was kind of a mediatic conservation case, but I loved the communication and the creativity they used. It was a trending topic on Twitter. They even got highlighted CNN, and it was a very creative idea of how to extrapolate these, like marriage or engagement or all these things, into conservation. So in digital, I think you all know this phrase, sorry, that says that we are what we eat in terms of health. In digital, we are what we share, basically. So we need to build our identity and our digital identity, being very mindful of how we want to be seen, how we want our charity, our organization, our project to be seen by others and our audiences. So I think that the 3 C's of engagement are: we should curate, create, and connect. I think that in conservation, one of the beautiful things of our work is that we all work towards a common goal, that it's having a healthier planet with healthier ecosystems and healthier communities. So I think that sharing other people's content, tagging, mention the work colleagues and collaborators do is very positive and very important. We can share others' work, others' news, other videos, commenting them and generating and building some conversation. In terms of engagement, like talking about the algorithm, it's always better to comment on the news and posts when they're external sources. So instead of sharing, just retweet, always try to comment something on that retweet or that repost, so the algorithm positions you better, because if not, they consider you're just recycling content from other accounts, and your account is not interesting, because you're just acting like a board of other accounts. And I think that it's very important that, despite we're all think that our projects are the most important projects of the world, don't just talk about yourself. We all share the common goal. So it's always nice to highlight other organizations, other projects, and other people's work and news. I think that this is something that in the science world, I am not a scientist, but I've seen that sometimes it might be tricky, because my experience working with scientists is that we want to communicate everything, absolutely everything, the scientific name of the animal, the numbers, the data, everything. And what happens in social media, that social media, we need to keep things short. So for example, in Twitter, I think that 2-3 years ago, we changed the character limit. It used to be 140 and now it's 280. But for example, if you want to share longer information doing threads, it's a useful way of being able to share more content on Twitter. Then Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I don't know if you've seen that when a text is too long, there's always this option that says read more or say more. That's the algorithm measuring how interesting your content is. They cut the content and then they measure how interesting that post is, but the number of times people click the read more. Ideally, try to avoid that, because they consider that long posts are not that engaging and they won't show it to many people. I was 2 months ago in a social lighthouse event. It's an event related to social media, and they were mentioning that now platforms also have started to penalize external URLs in the posts. So I don't know if you realize that when sometimes on LinkedIn, I've been getting it, not all the time, but when I click on a link, a URL on a post, they ask me if I want to leave the platform. So we need to bear in mind that it's social media tool. They want you to people to your link in the video and they will leave Instagram. So what I would recommend you to do is a combination in between sharing your we have different options. Reading is a very big trend. We have videos. You can use impact of or social media posts that have images or video are those that are being read and people are remaining there, and the engagement is higher compared to the ones that are no image or a percent of the people respond better to visual information than to plain text, which is very interesting. And now that we're going back to the offices and we start commuting again, people like small pills of visual content, such as reels or short videos on social media. How to structure it better to gain everyone's attention. So I would say that we need to know what's the hook of our video and then begin with that. So for example, I don't know if you guys know Charity Water, which is like, I think it's a case, the journey of your donation, you already know what's going to happen. People want to know what happens with their money. And then when you click, they explain you from point A to point B, what happens with your money. This is a Spanish influencer. She's an environmental activist, and you can see that she also adds what she's going to explain in the video. So you already know what's going on. You have to do an interesting question, or this is how I accomplished this in my project. And then you already guide people and use that hook to get them interesting and show your work. You can also jump on important days and trends. So international days related to your project are meaningful. There's lots of UN international days. For example, in our case, as we work with sharks in the Mesoamerican Reef, we generated these banners and we got 513 shares, which was a great example of how to jump on Shark Awareness Day and consider it a milestone for our organization. But I'm sure that your organization has can find their own days and generate some content regarding that. Then we have generic days like World Ocean Day or World Environment Day, etc., that you can also piggyback on. We need to be mindful that we're not the only ones doing this, so it's a bit of A/B testing. You might jump on some days, and if there's a lot of noise around them, you might not get the expected results, or you might jump on other days and get interesting results. So, for example, at BirdLife, there's this finch species, I think, that's called zebra finch, and there was a Zebra International Day, so I did a post about an interesting fact about zebra finches for Zebra Day. And like, you know, it's just trying to be creative and trying to communicate as much as you can. I'm going to share some like small pills of knowledge I've realized through working with social media that might be helpful for everyone here. Instagram algorithm rewards several words in the comments. So before you could just put 2 hearts or 2 emojis and the algorithm would be like, okay, they're replying. Right now, they already understood that emoji replies are too common, so they don't consider that as engagement. So always when you are replying to everyone, remember that the first hour of the post is the most important hour. And if you reply, try to add text to your replies. Also, Instagram measures the time people spend looking your content. This is not a secret. That's why try video and try reels, because right now, everything related to video content, reels, IGTV, videos in your feed, etc., will help you improve your algorithm results compared to a post of an image. Tailor your feed. It's very important. It's not just aesthetics. Instagram determines suggested posts to other people based on your activity, based on your imagery, based on the hashtags you use. So if your feed is ocean oriented, they will show this content to people that are interested in the ocean. But if you have a disorganized feed, the algorithm doesn't know how to read it, and then you get less visibility than if you have a curated feed. Reels. So this is a video of that went viral on our Mar Alliance Instagram. I was recording some shoots for the CNN in Belize this year, and we did the release of this massive male loggerhead. I thought it was a great video. This is a GoPro 10. So we curated a nice cover, we posted the video, and it went completely viral. It helped us revamp our Instagram a lot. We gained lots of followers because of this video, and then I had 2 more videos lined up that I thought that could be viral too. Did the same, and we've got amazing results. So I want everyone to know there's no magic potion, but be mindful of what you share, and then you might get the results you want. So in Reels, the important thing is to have a really nice cover. Share your Reels both in your feed and stories. So you will see there's an option. So we always like try to include it in your feed. Use trending elements. There's pages and there's accounts that let you know what music it's trending right now or what challenges are trending. Try to incorporate that to your communications. Add a call to action, so make people interact. You can add a question, you can make people think, you can ask for opinions. So you can see that Instagram prioritizes Reels. So when you're scrolling, you will see that an amount of the things you see are posts and another big amount are Reels. That's why I encourage everyone to try and use this type of content to improve your Instagram engagement and followers. TikTok. TikTok is having an exponential growth. The video content TikTok goes viral and has a lot of potential. I personally think it's a great awareness tool because of the young age of the users. You can generate a lot of interesting videos, new ways of communicating your projects or your concerns or your campaigns, etc. And there's many research and studies that are indicating that in terms of Generation Z, around 60% of them are inspired to donate to charities by social media. So if we analyze where we can find Gen Z, they're usually in TikTok. I am not personally, I'm not an expert on TikTok, but I think it's a platform that if we're community managers, we should take into account and start analyzing and seeing how we can use it as one more of the social media tools we want to incorporate to our communication strategy. Then LinkedIn. I think that LinkedIn has found an important opportunity now that Twitter is under so many changes. They've announced the native post scheduling app. They announced they will share and have a new analytics dashboard that is very similar to Facebook. So I think that now that many social media users are looking for a potential professional tool alternative to Twitter, LinkedIn has seen the light and a great opportunity. They're under construction of all these different things, but I think it's very useful for community managers because the fact that they didn't have a native post scheduling app or that you couldn't see like very clear analytics might generate some friction and some resistance to using the platform. Then when it comes to Facebook, after all my experience managing different accounts, I think this is a very interesting rule that has worked for me to revamp the presence of some Facebook accounts I've had to work with. So 70% is value content and it's your own content. So you can introduce your team, talk about your project, interesting news, broadcast your work, explain fun facts, etc. Then 20% is share content because as we were mentioning, you know when you meet someone that they just speak about themselves and usually you get bored of them. So in social media, it's the same. So sharing interesting stuff coming from external sources is also a way of building a stronger digital presence. And then 10% can be promotional content. So this can be fundraisers, campaigns, events, if you want to do signature campaigns, etc. It's important that this is 10% or less because people don't like to feel they're being sold stuff all the time, so you might burn them out. If you have enough budget, you can also try to use Facebook ads and target different audiences. You have the Facebook Business Manager, and you can use it both on Facebook and Twitter. On Facebook and Instagram, because as you know, everything is part of the Meta ecosystem and they work together. Then Twitter. Well, I wish I had more information about Twitter, but things are changing very quickly. So two of the interesting things I've read in the news so far is that they plan on showing more tweets of people you don't follow, and this is beneficial for us in terms of community managers, because it means that we can break the glass ceiling and reach different audiences. And they also want to revamp the Twitter $8. Now it was $11. We're still not very clear on that. The verification program. I am interested in understanding how this will affect charities and how they plan on working with charities and the charity sector. They used to have, and I think they still have, a charity like network or a charity part of the Twitter program, a charity program, but I am unsure of how that will develop further on with so many changes. So I think that one of the most important things when it comes to social media is that, at least what I've realized is that working in the conservation sector, we usually have limited resources. We're not Coca-Cola, we don't have like a 20 people comms team. Usually the comms coordinator or the comms officer does email marketing and the website and graphic design and grab some videos and then do some reels. And social media is a beast that needs to be fed. So I think that important things before jumping on all social media platforms and wanting to be everywhere is to be very honest with ourselves and with our mental health, that it's very important because social media can be very consuming, and analyze how much time and resources you really have. Do you need to find external help, an agency to help you craft a strategy, or a consultant that might help you build your own brand, or a freelancer that helps you maintain your social media active? Then we need to be mindful that social media doesn't work by itself. It's not one way that you post and then the machine does everything else. You need community management. You need to be posting, you need to be replying, you need to be engaging with everyone, with other accounts' content, you need to be following other people, and it requires a lot of time. Then you need to be mindful of the content creation. What type of content you can create? Do you have a GoPro and you go to the field and you're able to record video, or you have good quality imagery but not video? Can you generate infographics, or there's no skills in your team to do infographics and you need to outsource them? You need to find and give it a thought of what type of content you're able to create, because each platform needs different types of content, but video, for example, is the most precious one across all platforms. And the very important thing that sometimes our managers might not understand is that you don't need to be everywhere. Maybe you just need to be in Instagram. Maybe you just need to do LinkedIn and Instagram. Maybe you just need to be in Twitter and LinkedIn. It depends on your project, and as we were saying before, on who you want to reach. So this is just like 4 pieces of advice to not stress, to remember that everything is testing and what works for me might not work for you. But if you admire accounts, if you admire how another organization or another project or an influencer is managing their account, try to learn, try to understand what they're doing, and try to do an audit and compare on how people are interacting with your accounts to improve your content, your engagement, and your reach. So basically that's my presentation. If you want to find me, you can reach me to my email at Mar Alliance, or follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram, or you can follow our Mar Alliance accounts. And yes, feel free to reach me anytime. We can discuss, we can learn from each other, which is great. And thank you very much for assisting to the workshop.
Thank you, Maria. It was very, very informative, and I really enjoyed your workshop. Thank you so much. So now we will open up to questions, and I can see one question. I can see some question, actually, a couple of questions. So we have one. We have first question. When it comes to visual communication, what sort of communication conservation stories do you think resonate better with an adult audience on LinkedIn? So it's about LinkedIn.
Okay, when it comes to visual communication. Okay, so what I think that resonates with audiences in LinkedIn is success stories. It's the typical hero story of there was this problem, we did this, and now this is happening, which is the positive impact. Because usually in LinkedIn, you find the people you want to reach as donors, collaborators, you want to fundraise. It's a high level audience that usually you want to add you would like to reach them and monetize that audience. So I think that when it comes to a hero story, no, of this is what we do and this is why our work is important, they can see why your work is important, and then you can take them to another user journey, which is like become a member, donate, fundraise, etc. But I think that a hero story of this was the problem, this is our intervention, this is the solution, would be a good communication storytelling for them. And when it comes to visuals, video is just like, video is the best thing now. I appreciate that sometimes we have limited resources, but infographics also work really well in LinkedIn, for example, because it's baby boomers and yes, as you were mentioning, an adult audience.
Thank you. So there is another question on audience, related to audience. So there is a question from Jesse. For funding charities, who would be the desired audience and their primary audience? And how do you recommend they curate their social media for donors, etc.? So it's about and
Okay.
yeah.
Could you please explain me what funding charity means? Like, can I get more information about what type of charity it is? Desi?
See, would you like to explain about it?
A little bit more.
I mean, I'm not Jessie, but I guess one way to interpret the question might be about getting funding for charities. Like, how can charities get funding?
Okay, so it would be, so the question, I don't know if I'm getting it right. If not, please let me know. The question would be, if you want to get fundraising, if you want to do a fundraiser, what would be the desired audience, the primary audience, and how we recommend to create this funding partners who do conservation. Okay, so when it comes to fundraising, so I think that there's like two big ways to communicate our information on social media, which is usually we want to generate brand awareness, or we want to include a call to action, which can be funding, campaigns, signatures, petitions, etc. When it comes to funding, we need to first understand if you want to do individual funding or if you want to do organizational fundraising or target businesses. Once you know what type of fundraising you want to do, I think that we can go back to the same question we asked at the beginning, where we can find these audiences and who we are. So I would say, for example, that depending on your fundraising goals, Generation Z is not your targeted audience, and maybe you want to target from millennials upwards. Or if you want high-level donors and say you want higher fundraising amounts, you want to target baby boomers. I think that everything depends on what type of fundraising campaign you want to do. Desired audience. So in terms of individual fundraising, I would say your desired audience might be, yes, from millennials onwards. Millennials, if you want small amounts, like $15, $30, even $50. But if you want higher amounts, like from 50 upwards, I would say baby boomers would be your target, because they have already a consolidated economical wealth and they are eager to share it and to spend it on charities. You can see these behaviors in US, Australia, UK, and the northern part, yes, of the world, usually, because there are more resources. So you can target them by, as we were saying, Facebook ads, and tailor the demographics to the people you want to reach. And how do you recommend they curate the social media for donors? I think that donors, as I was mentioning before, they're very interested in success stories. So for example, something that has worked very well at Mar Alliance, and I did also at BirdLife International when I was for digital fundraising, was that we would explain the success of the campaign. So say we would campaign for 6 months, you give money for this project, and when the project ends, we would send a message to everyone like, thank you, your money has allowed us to achieve this and that. I think that's a very transparent, honest, and really nice strategy that it's heartwarming and makes people stay and want to donate more, because you're explaining what you're doing with the money. So I think that through an email chain, once you have them inside your inside the user journey of wanting to donate, not only social media, but also tailored emails for them would be a good communications strategy. And sharing your success story through social media and thanking everyone for their donations. If you want, sorry, I'm just like rambling around, but if you need donations for a project, also showing a sense of emergency is also a good way to make people care and donate, for example. I don't know if that answers your question, Jessie. I hope it does, and if not, just feel free to ask again in the chat.
So we have another question related to language and caption. What would you recommend in terms of languages? Do you think putting captions in both English and local language is needed? So this was also my question, actually.
Okay, and this is something, yes, I've faced a lot of times, and it depends, one, in the organization and how inclusive you want to be. For example, Facebook has this option that you can put the same post and translate it into different languages, and depending on the setup of the computer of the person who's reading, they will get the post translated. If not, they will get an automatic translation that usually is not very accurate and has mistakes. But then when it comes to, for example, Instagram or LinkedIn, etc., you can try two things. One is the same post in two different languages, and then you need to be very mindful of how long you want this text to be, and you need to tailor it very precisely. And then the other option is doing a mix and match. And when it comes to news regarding a local action or a local project, you can share it once in, say, Spanish, because you're working in, I don't know, Panama. And then you can share a more global news regarding that project in English because you want to reach the attention of, I don't know, donors and collaborators that are based somewhere else where the English is the main language. I think that the languages is always an issue, but I like being inclusive. I think that if you're working in a place that people from the local communities are supporting your work, they deserve to be included, and language is one of the ways you can include them digitally if they're unable to participate in another way. But I appreciate it is sometimes a lot of, it requires time and resources, so maybe doing a mix and match, or in Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, I would say, because on Twitter it's impossible to just like do the same thing twice. Try to be as inclusive as possible by separately mixing the languages, or in the same post doing both languages.
Thank you. That was very helpful. So we would also appreciate if you would take time to fill up with our feedback link for the workshop. So I have just kept the link. Before that, there is another question on best time to upload, like the time. So it is yeah, because we are in different time zones, so this is also very important topic, I think. How do we determine the best time to upload new contents on the social media to get more engagement? So what is the best, how do we determine the time?
I think that's the question all community managers in the world have, and I don't have a precise answer. I think that what has worked for me is that you need to know your audience. So it depends on who you're targeting. If you're targeting people from the US, you will probably need to schedule if it's not the same time zone, because you need to be active when they're active. So I think that globally, Sundays are a very good day for posting, because it is said that psychologically people have like a pre-Monday depression. So Sunday afternoon, everyone sits down in the couch and it's like, tomorrow is Monday, and they start scrolling. So that's been proved that it works a lot, but we're not the only ones that know this secret. So big brands know this, everyone knows this. So I think it's just like trying to do a test on what works best for you. Where's your targeted audience based? Maybe you want to communicate about your project in the local time, but you want to do a campaign to target people in, I don't know, the US. So then you would be posting about your projects in both time zones and scheduling accordingly. Regarding scheduling now, like, like Facebook and Instagram, they have like their own scheduling tool. LinkedIn is developing one. And if you see that you're unable to do a daily hour-by-hour management of your social media, there are tools such as Hotsuite that are very useful also, and that they indicate you the best times to post, analyzing your own activity and engagement. But it's a complicated question, because the best days, there's a lot of noise, so you might not be heard. And maybe for you and your charity, Monday midday is the best day, because it's when everyone's having lunch. So I would recommend taking a look at your analytics and the trends in your area. You can look at that, do some research on Google and We Are Social. Hotsuite also shows lots of interesting content regarding this, and then just tailor a strategy that it's useful for you.
So there is one more question on engagement. How much engagement is too much engagement on social media platform like Instagram? Would one get penalized for posting too much? How often would it be good to post per week?
Okay, so what I think that is a good rule of thumbs on social media is you need to avoid looking like a robot. So if I post every day, 2 times per day, like I start looking like a robot and the algorithm penalizes you. If you go on social media and just answer to thousands of comments in 30 minutes every day, you look like a robot. So the social media algorithm will penalize you. So I think that we need to look as natural as possible for the platforms. I've been shadow banned is what Instagram is how Instagram calls this activity of blocking you and being like, relax, stop it, you're going to burn out your audiences. So you can get penalized for posting and answering and interacting too much. Yes, you can, and it's called shadow ban, and Instagram does it quite often. How often it would be good to post? So I would say stories as much as you can, but posts, it depends. Are you generating reels or are you generating just like posts with an image? I would go for, it depends also on what your audiences expect from you and how much resources you have. I would say in Instagram, minimum 1-2 per week. If it's an image, you can post 2 reels per week if you have enough resources to do so, and stories as much as you can. If you can post one story per day, that would be great, and even more, because stories is a 24-hour content, but posts, as we all know, they're static and they remain there. So by throwing small pills of content, people are like engaged with your account and they know your life and they know you're doing stuff, but they don't want to see in their feed like all the time static content. So it's a bit of a mix and match. I would say, for example, you can post twice per week, 3 times on Facebook. Twitter is a monster and they need you to post every day if you can. I remember once I read that like Twitter considered that if you posted in between 15 and 20 tweets per day, that would be the optimum conversation Twitter wanted you to have with the platform. This was like 3-4 years ago, and I was like, okay, I just need to be a professional Twitter community manager because that doesn't give you time to do anything else. I think that remain healthy twice, 3 times per week. If you can do more, but always try to do more of the content that is engaging reels, stories, video. Don't just post because of posting, because that's not interesting content. And despite you being very active, your audience is not going to be rewarding you with engagement. Yes, I think that's...
Yes, thank you. That was very informative. So there is one more question. I think this is also a last question because I'm also conscious of time. Do you think Anglophone organizations should produce for French, Spanish, and Portuguese audiences if they also form part of their donor base? So it is also related to audience and donors.
If it's part of your donor base, yes, you should. The thing is that I appreciate that digital grows very, very, very fast and it just reaches, as we were saying, no, lots of communities and people all around the world, and we're humans, we're not machines. So it's very hard to produce all these being a team of even 3 people. I think that you can start by, if it's part of your donor base, which is important, analyze first which are the priority languages. So say you have donors that speak French, Spanish, and Portuguese, but is it in the same amounts? Or maybe you have a lot of French and Portuguese and not so many Spanish donors. So just try to do it as healthy as you can. Analyze who's your audience. Start by picking them, maybe by posting some posts, yes, in both languages or doing the same post like we were mentioning separately in both languages. Also be mindful of the emails. I know we haven't talked about email marketing here, but if your donors are talking in different languages, you should target them very personalized, in a very personalized way and in their languages. That's very important in email marketing, for example, if you want them to keep giving. But yes, I'm facing, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but for example, we work in French, Spanish, and Portuguese countries. We did the website revamp when I joined in February, and I've just managed to do the website for now in Spanish and English. And I'm still working on the Portuguese one because I appreciate it's important, but we work in charities and usually we have limited resources. But yes, I think that we should be as inclusive as possible, and more if we're talking about donors database.
Thank you. I hope that answered your question, Kat. So yes, okay, so we are almost towards the end of workshop. I will stop this recording.